Skate Story is the perfect example of what people mean when they say that video games can be art. My name is St. Corvus, and this is my review of Skate Story. I'm not a ride or die for skating games like I am for some other genres out there, but you could definitely say that I'm a fan. I played a lot of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 back on the PS1 as a kid, and when I was a bit older, Skate 3 was one of my most played games on my PS3. I've been looking for over a decade now for a new skating game that would scratch that itch, and nothing really seemed to be what I was after. Little did I know that my research for my On the Radar video for December would lead me to the exact game that I was looking for, a little title called Skate Story by some guy called Sam Eng. I watched the trailer and I was immediately fully captivated. This game is exactly what I was looking for. Now that it's out and I've beaten it, did it live up to the hopes I'd set for it? Let's take a look at it part by part and find that answer. You were a demon, and you're so insatiably hungry that you need to eat the moon. The only possible way to achieve this is to sign a contract with the devil that will give you a skateboard you can use to reach the moon, but in the process, you become a demon made of glass and pain. There's a little white rabbit leading you through all the layers of hell to achieve your dream, and the devil has sent his people after you. If this premise of a plot doesn't immediately hook you, then I honestly don't know what to tell you. You might just be boring. Skate Story has a very strange narrative. Almost none of it makes any kind of straightforward sense, but that's the point of it. You have to open your mind and be open to the nonsensical to truly understand the story of Skate Story. Think of a bit of a mix of Katamari, something made by David Lynch, and Hotline Miami, and you've got your vibe for the story here. You might think that since this is a skating game, there wouldn't be much of an emphasis on the story, but that's actually where you'd be wrong. I'd say that about a third of the game is based purely on its narrative and characters, and to be honest, it's the best story that I personally have ever played in a skating game. Each level you go through, you'll meet more strange and bizarre creatures and people in the underworld, and they all make up a very fun cast to go along with your esoteric narrative. If you want a game that has no story, no characters, and pure open world skating, then this might not be the game for you, and the recent Skate doc might be a bit more up your alley. But if you're up for a dark narrative skating adventure, then Sam Eng has given you the best example gaming has right here. I don't really want to touch on anything else involving the story, because I believe that experiencing it for yourself is much more important than hearing about it, so let's move on to the gameplay. I'm going to blow your mind here. In this game, you're going to be doing a lot of skating. The skating you'll be doing will be pretty varied though, because Skate Story has two words in the title, skate and story, and the game does put a good balance into the two of these. You've got all of your skating standards here, a push and power slide button, a button to lay down a marker you can respawn at, an ollie button, and a set of trick modifiers that will change what trick you do when you hit the ollie button. The fun thing with performing tricks in this game is that there's a timer on your ollie that will give you a different amount of height based on when you time the button. Only need a short little hop to get onto a ledge to grind, or need a decent bit of height to cross a gap? You better time that ollie button just right so that you get the effect you need, and that means you're going to have to pay attention to what you're doing. I do enjoy the added depth with tricks and jumps here, but I'll be fully honest that I had a bit of a skill issue with this game. I didn't find any of the trick sections to be too difficult to complete or anything, but I was only ever able to do chain combos of tricks when moving at very slow speeds because the mechanics behind doing so and the button combinations needed were just a bit much for my brain. I must apologise that I'm just too much of a smooth brain to be pulling off any combos higher than 25,000 points. Tricks aren't the only way you'll be skating in this game though. There are also a lot of sections where the game is all about going fast and maintaining control through tight sections. This is something we don't tend to see much of in skating games, having levels where you're going at breakneck speeds and it's all about ollies over dangers and hazards and making sure you keep your speed high enough while doing so. I actually really enjoyed these sections, partly because I was better at them than the trick sections, partly because I like high speeds and going fast, but also just because there was something a bit different from what most other games provide. The last part of the gameplay relates a bit more to the story part of the game's name. Pretty much every level in Skate Story is going to have an open section that you can free roam in and skate around performing whatever tricks you like, but also has some story that needs doing by going around and performing a small handful of quests. These can range from going around talking to NPCs to try and find an item to proceed in the level, to finding little stickers hidden throughout the levels, to completing little optional extra challenges for more currency. Speaking of the currency, performing tricks and extra challenges is going to earn you some that you can spend on customization items. There are gift shops all throughout the game where you can use this to purchase yourself new board skins, new trucks and tyres, and more stickers that you can apply to your boards. I was actually pretty impressed with the amount of customization on offer here. I didn't manage to buy every board or accessory, but even just the ones I did get totaled over 15 different boards. And for a little 6 to 8 hour game, that means you're not going to be lacking for how you can express yourself by what you're riding. I think the biggest highlight for me with the gameplay of Skate Story was just how surprising this game was always able to keep itself from start to finish, and how creative Sam Eng could be with what you can do on a skateboard. Never in my life have I played a skating game where I've had actual boss fights that actually feel like real boss fights without there even being one mechanic resembling combat. But in Skate Story, that's just one way that skating gameplay is able to be implemented in such creative ways. Speaking of the length of the game, yes, a single playthrough is only going to get you between 6 and 8 hours, but this is the type of game where the experience is so much more important than how many hours you'll get out of it or how much replay value there is. Skate Story absolutely excels at the raw experience it gives to the player, and with such a low price tag of $30 Australian, which is about the same as a movie ticket in my city, I felt like this game was so very much worth every dollar. Speaking on the design aspects of the game now, it's not going to take a rocket scientist to notice that Skate Story is the most visually distinct game of the entirety of 2025. This game is breathtakingly gorgeous, with one of the most unique art styles that I have ever seen in my life. I don't know how to describe it, but I love the esoteric and trippy style that this game just oozes. I'm a big sucker for art design and atmosphere in my games, and everything here is pure perfection in that regard. From the way the glass of our skater looks, to the designs of the side characters, to how the environments look and even the direction of the cutscenes, I was captivated from start to finish, and it couldn't actually be any more up my alley if it tried. It doesn't help that the entire soundtrack is absolutely stellar. Most of the tracks in the game have been made specifically for it by a small music group called Blood Cultures, and the music for this game is so phenomenal that I now play it in my car on the way to and from work. The soundtrack is a massive reason as to why the vibes of this game are immaculate. The soundtrack is a slightly more trippy and depressing take on something like the soundtracks of Drive and Hotline Miami. I cannot compliment the soundtrack enough. I think Blood Cultures have done masterful work here, and the actual sound design of the game is amazing too. Everything sounds so grounded, from landing an ollie to shattering glass to grinding a ledge. Everything is perfectly done to really preserve a gritty skate feel in an otherworldly setting. Everything about Skate Story from an artistic standpoint is an absolute masterpiece as far as I'm concerned. I don't have much else to say other than that. To sum it up, Skate Story may very well be appealing to my very specific tastes, and so I have to admit that it is one of the best games that I have played in 2025, and in the running for my favourite indie game of all time. This game might not be everyone's specific cup of tea, and that's alright. By watching this review, you'll already know whether or not this is striking a chord with you. It does hit mine to a T though, and I need more games by Sam Eng in my life. For positives, we have a greatly weird narrative, fun characters, drop-dead gorgeous visuals, and a stellar soundtrack and sound design. We also have very impressive cutscene direction, satisfying and creative ways to skate around with varied objectives, and quite the slew of customization on offer that makes the experience your own. For negatives, we unfortunately have some performance issues on console at launch, although I played on PC, and I find that the controls can start to become a little cumbersome when trying to pull off huge trick chains. Ultimately, I'll be giving Skate Story by Sam Eng a score of 9.5 out of 10. I'm so glad that I found out about this game when doing my research for my OTR video, and I'll be eagerly awaiting any future games down the line. Skate Story will be my final new release game of 2025, and I'm so happy to be leaving off on such a positive note for the year. It's just a shame that the Game Awards came out late enough that it couldn't be nominated for any awards at the Game Awards. It should have won Best Art Direction over Expedition 33, even though I love that game. We've still got more videos coming before the end of the year is over, so if you enjoyed this video, please hit it with a like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any more. Thanks for watching.